Welcome to a new episode of the Reservoir Radio Podcast. What's up, guys?
What's up?
Hello, hello, hello.
And the streak stays alive.
Yes.
Hello.
And
Streak 7?
Streak 7?
Streak-
Is it 7?
7th, I think.
as long as there's no real streaking going on, we're all good. We are recording with clothes on.
Yes.
Drink some Jimmy John's drinks.
Jimmy John's.
But
Freaky fast.
ooh,
I
excuse me.
prefer Jersey Mike's, personally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You've never been there?
I one time, but I don't know if it was what I got, but there was so much onion on it that I was like gassy for like a day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but I remember being good though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't. I can't remember if I ever had Jimmy John's. Maybe I did. I don't know.
Jimmy John's. The thing I don't like about Jimmy John's is when you eat the sandwich, you get one of those like double meat, triple meat, whatever.
Yeah.
The meat tends to slide out of the sandwich.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
I'll give you a couple toothpicks and stab it in
Jeez, I know.
That's not the worst. I mean, I took the kids to Chick-fil-A for lunch this afternoon, and the kids are in the play area, and I walk in there because Waverly wanted to go in there, and this little kid just tells me, "Hey, you're fat," and I'm like, "That's not a very nice thing to say." And I don't really pity the kid. It's more who's teaching him that.
I would have grabbed my belt.
I pity the parents or whoever's raising him who taught him that to be a rude little motherfucker.
I saw that, and I told Jack, I turned to Jackie and I said, now that I'm not skinny anymore, I've had this debate. I'm like, is fat a bad word? And she's like, it's rude to call someone fat. And I said, so it's rude to tell someone what they're... If someone says, hey, you're fat, I'm like, yeah, I am. I eat Whataburger all the time now. And then, but I was like, why don't people get mad whenever they say you're skinny?
They do.
And she's
Actually,
like...
They do.
She's like, it's a good point.
No, they do, because if you tell a girl, like, oh, you could eat an extra hamburger too, believe me, it pisses them off. They don't like it. Yeah.
I told her, I said, now, I was like, if they're like, hey, Shamu, then I'm pissed, And I was like, or she's like, yeah, she's like, because Jackie used to be really skinny as a kid, and her cousins used to piss her off all the time by calling her like beanpole or toothpick. And I was like, I think whenever you compare it to like an object or something that's superfluous, then yeah, it's like a huge insult. But I was like, if someone called me fat, I'm like, yeah, and
well, like I said, it didn't
whatever.
technically hurt my feelings. I just felt
I'm
bad
not
for the
saying
kid who did that. It's just like I don't like it when people I don't know say, "What's up, big guy?" I'm like, I don't know you. Is
Yeah,
that
I
okay
don't know
with you to call
man.
me big guy? It's like, yeah, I'm a big dude, but I don't know you.
You haven't earned that status.
Yeah.
My dad calls me fat and lazy, like straight up, and Vietnamese people don't have a filter.
Right.
So they just straight up call you fat no matter how they know you or not, and then I just tell them, I'm big bone and I'm not fat.
Think of
Big
that
bone.
fucking bottle, man.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I feel like you're gonna
huge.
spill. feel like you're gonna spill that bottle everywhere.
But,
Don't jinx me.
But anyways, it's not the fat, it's the sugars. That's the more dangerous thing.
That's true.
Or
It
as
is true.
someone commented on my Facebook, they said, "Tell him I'm not fat. I'm fluffy."
Fluffy, like Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah.
That's what he. That's a line from him. I love Gabriel Iglesias.
So, how has y'all's week's been?
It's been great.
Thank you for fixing the car.
No problem.
Yeah.
It was a credit more to my cousin, but I did eliminate him some options to where he could just focus on other things, and that's why he diagnosed it so quick. So,
Credit to Henry.
yes, Henry saved the day. I called
Henry
him MacGyver.
Jones Jr. No.
Yeah,
Even if it
figures
takes him 5
everything out.
engagements to get it right. Thank you, Henry.
Yes.
I hope,
Yeah,
he
I
doesn't,
know, right?
hope he doesn't listen to the show and hit me for that.
No, he
Henry
does.
knows I'm just joking.
I
Even though he
think
has a dry sense of humor. Remember one time I said something he didn't get my sense of humor?
Yeah,
so-
I think that was at Hooters one time.
It was
We're at
something he
Hooters.
just sort of looked at me. He didn't understand what I was saying. So I know the
Yeah.
sense of humor sometimes. It's a joke, Henry. I'm glad. What's her name?
Ashley.
I'm glad you're happy with Ashley.
Yes.
She's a very nice girl.
Man, they shared a wedding video where they like read a letter and then they played the wedding over it, and I was like, that's really cool. I never made that. I was like, it kind of makes me a little jealous. I felt like I didn't document it enough. I do have this really bad dance off.
We we got to talk about weddings. 2
Yeah,
days before
probably.
would have been my anniversary. Really?
Oh, I didn't realize it was that close. But yeah, maybe not.
Anyway, how was your
Anywho,
week long? Since
yeah.
he went and fucked things up now.
Long, save it. Save the
It's
conversation.
nothing compared to what I went through for sure because my water heater broke again today.
Oh, shit.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you can still pick up mine at least.
But it should be under warranty if they just fix it.
Yeah. Should be under warranty for sure. I'm sad.
You're sad?
It's a good thing I showered today.
It is
No.
good.
So it's mad I'm smelling. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, maybe. I was crawling under your car in these
I mean,
clothes a
I
little bit.
just showered before y'all got here. You know,
Water
it smelled
heater
good for you
broke.
guys.
I always do the horse
Again. And it happens to be on President's Day weekend.
bath. There you go.
The timing of it all, I swear.
Yeah.
You know?
You can't
Well,
get
the places
your-
don't really close though for President's Day, do they?
I hope not.
Yeah, I know there's no school, but I think places are generally open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Banks and schools,
Yeah,
I think. And post office.
post office, but yeah.
Yeah.
Spanx, isn't that what women wear for like to suck
Spanx.
everything
Well, you
in?
know what I mean. Come
I
on.
don't know. I know what you mean.
Banks.
Banks. I thought you said. I thought you.
I was about to say school, but I. Yeah.
Banks.
Yeah. Yeah.
My,
Yeah.
my week's been okay, trying to establish a new norm in my life, so to speak, other than the car acting up yesterday. But I'm doing okay.
See, you seem to be
I
doing
haven't
better.
gone off the deep end yet. I'm still,
Looking forward to that vacation, I hope.
yeah.
Oh, I made another batch of beef jerky.
Really? Mm-hmm. Man,
I make one once a month, it seems.
my wife loves beef jerky.
Yeah.
Really,
Yes.
really,
Yes, she
really.
loves the beef.
That's just too fucking easy, man.
She has done some things that have made it easy like whenever we were dating, and you're like, where does she work? I'm like, oh, she works at this place called Premium Lubrications. You're, wait.
I remember that.
She works at a lube shop.
Wasn't it me and Claude?
Yeah.
Remember old Claude at the old store
Claude,
messing with
man.
you about that?
Sexy
Yeah.
motherfucker. Claude, man.
How did you two meet?
I worked at Kroger. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. His granddad worked at the store too, and then they sent him to work with me in the dairy department. I'm like, who's this little motherfucker?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That was whenever I couldn't. I didn't have enough. Drug department didn't have enough hours.
And I just
for me.
remember him always trying to do things really fast. And I'm like, slow down, man. You've got 8 hours to kill.
This
Yeah.
is
You
true.
don't have to do it that quickly.
Yeah. I
didn't
forgot
get it.
how you and I first started talking. I just overheard you talk about Star Wars, and then I just
Yeah. I just know you were a merchandiser. I know that much. But
yeah. It's just a gradual thing.
Yeah.
I kept going to Mark's store as a merchandiser and just talk wine and
Yeah.
try to get out of there as soon as possible.
The first time I met you, I was in a Batman cosplay that I made
Yeah.
out
yeah.
of dirt bike armor.
Over at Mark's old apartment. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was that
Yeah.
Halloween party we threw where we
Yeah.
bobbed for apples and all that.
Did
No,
we Bob for apples
no,
there?
No. You
No.
tried to make us do the chicken dance.
Yes, you tried to make us do the chicken.
Oh, that's right. That was the
And you wouldn't respect us saying no. Either.
that was the
You would-
Halloweener Fest when we cooked all the
Yes,
hot dogs
the
and
And
stuff.
we
had
decorated
sausages.
beer bottles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That was like the Oktoberfest / Halloween party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
like, is that a cod piece?
And we've done
Like,
some
yeah.
pretty epic fucking parties, man.
Hell
over
yeah,
the years.
dude.
We've had some good ones.
Yeah.
You know, cool. So, oh well.
Oh, well.
Shall we begin?
We shall begin.
No.
No.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
we can.
I mean, I got nothing. There was something I read in the news the other day I was going to talk about, but I can't find it now. So
Oh, what
fuck
did the Republicans do now?
No, it wasn't nothing political. But anyway, let's talk what we've watched, streamed, consumed into our brains this week on Download This. What have you guys? Well, I did watch a couple things this week in my sorrows of my life, so I've got a couple things. But what did you guys consume?
Long?
Porn.
There we go.
Fucking A.
Hell yeah. Valentine's Day. Did you give your hand a Epsom salt
Such
bath?
an overrated fucking holiday.
No.
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 Oh, well, that's disappointing.
I'm trying to remember what I
hoping you did
watched.
See,
Man,
40 now, you
I'll-
forget
I'll-
shit.
All I've done is just watch
I know what you did. You were
Transformer
vintage. You grabbed the Sears catalog.
YouTuber.
didn't you?
You're like the kids on YouTube, man. Just Transformers videos. and shit.
Yeah,
they
dude.
they watch kids play with other people's kids. Ryan's
No, I don't.
Ryan's toy review.
No,
and shit.
I watch toy reviews for sure. But man, I saw this one video of this dude who has a Masterpiece Megatron.
Oh,
And if
yeah.
you're not familiar, Masterpiece's line, the Masterpiece line in Transformers are cartoon accurate toys.
Gen 1?
Yeah. Yeah, they try to make them as cartoon accurate as possible, and they really do look like that. Even more so than the original G1 toys. And it took this guy about 10 minutes to transform a Megatron into a gun, and it is the Walter P-38.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of the smaller,
James Bond favorite for a while.
It's an actual like scale size
That's
of a Walter,
man.
Right.
and it took this guy 10 minutes of all flipping panels, rotating gadgets and switches and
Wow.
gizmos. Yeah.
That's cool. We've got
more elaborate than the.
We've got later in the show some Transformers news.
Yeah,
That's called foreshadowing.
yeah. But other than that, yeah, I like. It was the same week as last week. I was training, so
Yeah.
I had like 10-hour days. No, 11-hour days. Because it's 10 hours when I take out the hour lunch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I haven't had time to do anything of
To fill your brain
Yeah.
with stuff besides
No,
work.
yeah. decompress or whatever.
I watched Ghost. We had to watch a movie.
The
that
Patrick
was more of
Swayze one.
Yeah.
That was a wife pick.
It was the wife pick.
It's a classic, though.
And I was like, this movie's so good. I'm
You
like,
ever seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
But it's like, watching it now, I'm like, Patrick Swayze was that guy that could do anything, and he was still a man's man. He could be a dancer. He could be this lover dude, but he also roundhouse guys in the face at the Double Deuce.
But I think it's also the stats.
He's
That's
also
what a
good
movie star
cross-dresser,
is.
too.
Yeah.
Because I would agree.
Yeah.
That's
Long
what,
food.
and
Yeah.
I think Patrick's career faltered before his time and before he passed away, because that's what a movie star does. Because you think
Yeah.
the best of the best can do that. Harrison Ford can do that. Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks. Who else is the true movie stars can do that, can still be a man's man and make the Point Breaks and the tough movies, and then make the Dirty Dancing movies also, and that's a great thing to their talent, that they can do that. That's what a movie star is, and not every actor can do that. Vin Diesel's not going to do that,
No.
but a movie star can do that.
Yes. And man, Demi Moore still looks the same today as she did.
When was the last time she would think she did? I don't know.
She did the roast of Bruce Willis. TV event, and she still looks really
Charlie's
good.
Angels.
Charlie's Angels. She told some really good jokes in that one too. She's like, in Christmas time he'd come down the chimney and say, he's like, yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers, because that's what he calls his daughters. And
All I'm ever going to remember from
"Big."
Demi Moore is that she was naked in striptease.
Yes. I did try and get us to do that Burt Reynolds movie, but it wasn't strong enough as a movie. And it's like 20% on
I forgot
Rotten
that was a Burt
Tomatoes.
Reynolds movie.
The only good part of it is Demi Moore, and then the other stripper friend that has like enormous jugs.
That's all we remember for that movie.
That's it. But yeah, and then I watched Dirty Harry, because I've been obsessed with that Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum that he has, and I'm like, I want one. I saw the price tag
Did he
today.
fire 5 or did he fire 6?
Yes.
I lost count in all the action.
That's a good flick, man. We talked about doing that a while back. I think that'll get done on the show.
It'll
one day.
definitely eventually be an episode.
The sequels weren't as strong, but the original Dirty Harry is a really good movie.
In fact, it's funny. So Smith & Wesson, the success of that firearm, has everything to do with the
Keep
power
talking.
of Hollywood. The power of Hollywood is so strong. That gun, you couldn't give it away. No one wanted it, and then Clint Eastwood carries it, and all of a sudden everyone has to have it. So now it's like they kept the production low that whole time. Every time a sequel came out, Dirty Harry still carried it, and then, even though it says 44 mag in the Enforcer, I believe it's in the Enforcer or Magnum Force, he's at the range with a couple other cops. He's like, I actually carry 44 Special in it because it's lighted lower. It's not as much blowback.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny. Hollywood just shows it or markets it a certain way, and now everyone has to have it. So, interesting. What about you, Mark?
I watched a couple movies this week. I watched Upgrade first, which has been getting some buzz as a popular cyberpunk independent film, and it was good. It's kind of predictable, but it had some cool. Like, I'm always down for something cyberpunkish, you know, and it had some predictable type stuff. But it was interesting concept. It's basically this guy, his wife is killed in front of him, and he's shot and kind of left for dead, but he's paralyzed, and this guy puts a computer chip in his neck that gives him, kind of controls him. So it's like an artificial intelligence type thing, and he obviously wants to go for revenge on who killed his wife. And there's a nice little twist at the end to it and all that. And that's where I said it's kind of predictable. You kind of saw a twist coming. You kind of knew something was going to happen. It's mostly a bunch of unknown actors in it, you know, no one you've ever heard of. But it's gotten some buzz on the markets lately. And, of course, the guy who directed it is going to do The Invisible Man and reboot, you know, the Universal Monsters for Blumhouse Pictures. So I was curious about the guy's style, so I wanted to watch it. And it was well directed. It's definitely very dark. You know, it's one of those movies where everything's shot at night. But overall, good film. But the film I really well enjoyed this week, I finally got to watch Creed 2. And, man, it's just as good as the first one. I like the first one maybe a little bit better because I felt like the first one was brought back a freshness to the Rocky franchise or revitalized it. Whereas this one just is more of a continuation of what happened in part one. So you lose the freshness of it. But overall, it's still a good movie. It's emotional as fuck. And maybe it's just the state I'm in right now with everything going on in my life, but I'm like crying like a fucking baby watching it. I mean, I'm just over there bawling.
Hey man, it's a, you know, there was a lot going on. It looked like with Adonis and you know, facing, you know, his father's killer's son.
It's so much, man, between that and his relationship with Rocky and his relationship with his, you know, he's married, you know, him and Tessa in this one. I don't know if it never says they're married or not, but it doesn't matter. But, you know, they're bringing a daughter into the world and everything that happens with, and you know, the result of her daughter ends up with a hearing problem just like Tessa does. That's a minor spoiler in the movie, but it's just like all this emotional stuff in the movie. Yeah. And it's handled so well. It's very dramatic. It's not just about boxing. It is about family and brotherhood and it's such a good swan. There's a beautiful shot towards the end of the film of Rocky just staring at the ring after Adonis, you know, fights, and it's just like that's perfect. It just describes the Rocky saga right there, just Rocky watching the ring, and really well done, you know. And if they end it with that, I'm good with it. You know, I know Stallone said he's not really interested in doing a Creed 3. You know, money always talks. You never know if they're going to do another one. But if they do end it right here, it ends so perfectly. I don't think we need any more stories of Adonis after this. We really don't, because it all comes together full circle in this movie for him at the end of the movie. And Michael B. Jordan just continues to be one of the best young actors working. The guy's going to win awards one day. He's going to be, talking about movie stars, this kid, he's going to be a movie star. I mean, he's just so good. And
be like the next Will Smith.
I mean, he's better than Will Smith. I mean, this guy,
I agree.
He's just good. He might be better than Denzel.
No,
you know,
I don't know if he's better than
eventually.
Denzel. But I think he can do a more broader spectrum thing.
That's the thing. Denzel to me is always the same guy. Denzel's good, but he's always like that rugged cop, that rugged tough guy. You know, and Michael B. Jordan. Michael B. Jordan has shown a lot of range in just a short time that I never got that with Denzel. You know,
Jamie Foxx has a lot of range too. He could do comedy. He could do drama. I mean, he did Ray Charles.
Yeah.
You know.
Who else has a lot of range? David Hasselhoff.
Really?
Yep.
David Hasselhoff sucks.
No, he does. He can sing. He can save lives.
Matt.
And he can eat cheeseburgers off the floor.
Matt. Fuck. David Hassel. No,
don't hassle the Hoff, you bastard.
Hey, man. His best role was playing SpongeBob and...
Oh, yeah? I thought you were going to say...
rescuing SpongeBob and Patrick to help them finish their cause in the first SpongeBob.
The Goofy Goobers.
And because I watched Creed 2, I went back and watched Rocky 4.
Yes.
Just because I was like, and it's so funny, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I highly recommend watching Rocky 4 again right before you watch Creed 2 because there's so many callbacks to it I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Just in dialogue alone, like some of the things Rocky says to Adonis, I'm like, wow, that's all callbacks to Rocky 4. So that was kind of cool. But highly recommend watching Creed 2 as it hits DVD here in a couple of weeks.
No love Rocky 5?
No, he already spent way too much time on Rocky 5 on the Rocky episode.
They told me
more than
I
it should have been.
Minutes. It was 5 minutes too long.
But no, so I got some stuff, a couple movies watched this week. I feel like there's something else I watched, but it doesn't matter because I watched those two things. So That's all that counts. Right.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
That's it for Download This. And it's time to talk what I think is a fantastic film.
It is.
And it's Quentin Tarantino's debut, Reservoir Dogs. This is a movie that I did see after Pulp Fiction. You know, I think Pulp Fiction was generally a lot of people's introduction to Quentin Tarantino's world. And after I saw Pulp Fiction, I wanted to see what else this guy had made. And I went back probably sometime in 95 and saw Reservoir Dogs for the first time on home video. And remember falling in love with it right away. And we have Harvey Keitel to thank for getting this movie made at all.
Absolutely.
Because Tarantino was going to make it, guerrilla style with his friends and stuff. And then Keitel got a hold of the script and came in and said, my production company will do this movie. They raised money for the film, and the rest is history, as so they speak.
It was interesting how he got a hold of the film.
Through his, sister, wife's friend or something.
Yeah, it's like I thought it was his wife. His wife did acting classes, and Tarantino handed her the script, and didn't know that she's married to Harvey Keitel, and he calls him and says, hey, I really like your script, and I'd like to try and see if we can get this thing rolling. And he flew them to New York and paid for casting, paid for everything. And that's how he got the cast that he got, including Roth.
And Tarantino wanted to make it so badly that he even turned down an offer from Tony Scott, who wanted to direct it.
Yeah.
Because he had written 2 scripts. He had written Reservoir Dogs, he had written True Romance, and he gave Scott a choice, sort of, because Scott was like, well, I want to do Reservoir Dogs, and Tarantino was like, no, you can do True Romance. I'm making Reservoir Dogs. So he didn't really give Scott a choice after all. Tony Scott was directing True Romance.
Rest in peace.
No matter what. And True Romance is a really great movie, too, I think. But this is Tarantino's debut. When was the first time you guys remember seeing it?
Now.
You had never seen Reservoir Dogs till now?
I saw Reservoir Dogs before Pulp Fiction.
Did you? That's rare to find someone who's done that.
Yeah.
I've seen Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was a very intense movie when I first saw it back in 1992.
Oh, man. It snaps. It's an hour and 40 minutes, but it goes by quick.
Yeah. And I like the whole whodunit, why did he do it, and figuring out who the snitch is, but they gave it away, towards the last half. Not the snitch, but who the mole was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think we have to give credit to Tarantino falling in love with how novels are written and using a literary term called in media res, which is in the middle of action. Which if the film was told linearly, like it typically is, we'd know right off the bat that Roth is the undercover cop.
Yeah,
Mr. Orange.
Mr. Orange.
Steve Buscemi was really good.
Oh,
in
yeah.
this movie.
So you had never seen this.
Never saw it.
So that's why the other day you made it. Well, yesterday when you were at the house, you made a comment like, "I wish they wouldn't have I wish they would have shown the heist." And that's the whole point in this movie. You feel like you saw the heist,
yeah,
because the movie embeds into your brain all this that's going around you as you're introduced to these characters, and you're even introduced to how they meet the boss guy.
Oh,
I can't think of his name off the top of my head. And so you feel like you've gone on this journey with them, and you feel like you saw the heist even though you didn't. And it's a storytelling method to make the audience feel they saw something they didn't see.
Yeah.
And it's brilliantly done. And Tarantino's done that in a couple of his movies where he didn't show you everything, but he feels like he did. And but this movie is like Long alluded to. It goes by quickly, but you never feel like you're missing anything either. The slowest moment of the movie is the beginning. When they're sitting around at the dining car, which was a last-minute add-on to the shoot. It wasn't in the original script. They added it on because they felt like they needed the characters to all kind of talk to each other a little bit. And Mr. Blue, who's played by a real-life criminal who turned his ways around and became an actor, he didn't have any lines. So they wanted him to have lines, so they had the dining room scene. And he actually, the guy who played Mr. Blue, actually thought the film was unrealistic because he said if I was going to pull off a crime, I never would do it with 5 people I don't know. And I certainly wouldn't sit in a room with them minutes before we pull off the crime because then people in the news are going to be like, hey, I know who those guys were. But it's a movie, You forgive them. And that dialogue scene has some of the best lines in the movie. Like
you don't tip.
Yeah, talking about tipping and stuff, and they're talking about what the song "Like a Virgin," what it's about.
Cups. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And Madonna actually she laughed it off. She thought it was funny, and she liked the movie. She had a good sense of humor about it, even though she told Quentin Tarantino, said that it's not about Dick. Yeah, she sent him something in the mail one time.
Yeah,
she sent him a signed copy. He's like, "It's got this big dick, right?" And he gives it to her, and she's like, "Man, it hurts like the first time,
but
like a virgin."
But we're immediately introduced to Tarantino's style, which is something we've come used to now, where you will have these scenes, long dialogue scenes where people are sitting around a table, which happens a lot in his movies, and they're just talking about things that you would talk about in life, and Quentin's always written his movies about that. The guys might sit around and talk about like a virgin, or they might sit around and talk about some bullshit, and Tarantino, he's also been guilty of that. People have knocked him for sometimes not cutting his dialogue, because he'll have these long dragged out scenes that go on and on and on, and you're just like, okay, let's get to the next scene, Quentin. And he has taken in some hits for that, but this one works well because it's not too long in this movie. I think. And it introduces us all to the characters, and then we get the great 1970s style homage as they're walking, out of the diner, and we get the graphics for the opening of the film.
Yes.
And then we're introduced to the Reservoir Dogs.
And that's another piece of Harvey Keitel in there. He's like, put that address book down.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm listening to you over here going, Toby Chan, Toby Wong, Toby Wong. And I'm like, he's saying Toby Wong over and over, but it's the way he's delivering the lines. It's hilarious.
Out of all the moments in the movie that I always remember about Reservoir Dogs is it's a quiet moment, and it's right after the heist goes bad, and you see Harvey Keitel just recalling all of the whole event while he was doing his hair, trying to look better, just trying to
get back to normal.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I always remember that scene. That's the one scene that always sticks out to me.
Yeah. And
Keitel's
a standout in this movie.
Trying to keep it cool.
Yeah. And the line where he's talking to Steve Buscemi's character, and Buscemi is great in this too. Everyone's great in this movie, honestly. There's not
You're
a bad...
Mr. Pink.
Yeah. And he tells him, he goes, "Man, I need you to be cool. Are you cool?" That was ad-lib, because on set, a couple of the actors had gotten into a fight, and Quentin used that on set. Quentin was like, "Hey, I need you guys cool, man. We need to..." So they ad-libbed that scene in there where he tells Mr. Pink, "Hey, are you cool? I need you cool." So that was not even an original moment in the movie, because he had to calm him down.
Yeah. Can I be Mr. Purple?
Right.
Mr. Purple's on another heist.
And then somebody say, "Well, it's better be Mr. Brown. It's like Mr. Shit." So like,
yeah.
But and then the movie was shot on a very low budget. Most of the actors used their own clothes for the movie. Poor Tim Roth had to lay in pounds of fake blood for days, to the point where sometimes he got stuck to the floor and they had to remove him because the blood stuck to the floor. And they also did things like they couldn't afford to cut off traffic, so they had to shoot the scene where Buscemi steals the car from the lady, like in quick takes while the lights were red, so they could shoot that. And they had a paramedic on set to make sure Tim Roth's blood loss looked real. So little interesting things like that in the movie, or some behind the scenes stuff. Michael Madsen, who plays a villainous character in this, Mr. Blonde, is actually kind of a nice guy. He had a real hard time shooting those scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. That's totally against his character to play a sociopath. Yeah. You can tell he loves to torture people, but he seems like he's very calm and collected on the outside.
Yeah.
Which has everyone else is pretty much a psychopath, and it's interesting who the good guy is and who the bad guy is.
Right.
Because you just don't know. And I watched a little briefing with Quentin Tarantino explaining some of these characters, and he's like, you have Mr. White, and you feel like he's a good guy, but he'll turn on anybody, for the good of the group, and he has this honor among thieves. And then he's like, you figure that Mr. Orange is the good guy because he's an undercover cop, but he becomes one of them whenever he shoots the woman trying to defend herself in the car. He's like, there's this, who is the good guy? He's like, in my opinion, Mr. Orange is the bad guy.
But at the end of the day, none of them are good guys. They're all bad guys, and that's the thing about, like, really good crime movies will do that for you. They'll have you falling for that character and wanting you to believe in that character and have you rooting for a villain, essentially, even
like
though
Tony
you should.
Soprano.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even essentially, you shouldn't be rooting for these guys. None of them are good guys. They're all bad dudes. I mean, every one of them will kill and shoot and rob people in a heartbeat. But yet, you find yourself, like you said, at the end of this movie, you kind of start leaning towards Harvey Keitel's character because it feels like he's really trying to save Mr. Warner to do the right thing, but the whole time he's a bad dude, you know, and they're all like that.
Yeah, he's like, did you kill anybody? A couple of cops, and you're like, a couple of cops? That's it?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's only as good as he has to be. As soon as he needs to be bad, he'll be bad.
And but Madsen though, that scene's been talked about a lot over the years. You know, where he cuts the guy's ear off and he tortures him, and Madsen didn't want to do it. He really he begged with Tarantino to let him play a different character, but Tarantino's like, no, I really want you for this role, and he had to really psych himself up to really shoot any of those scenes. He had a real hard time doing it. It was against his character. The guy who played the cop wanted to know what it was like to ride around the back of the car, so they actually rode around the back of the car for like a few minutes before the scene.
Yeah.
And he pulled through a drive-thru and bought the soda, and the soda he's drinking is the same soda he bought in the movie.
That's funny.
And everything. And
I think that's Michael Madsen's car, right?
yeah, he used his own car to
Yeah.
cut budgets in the movie. And they spent all their soundtrack budget on Stuck in the Middle with You because Tarantino didn't care if there was no other music in the movie, but he wanted that song for the torture scene specifically.
Yep.
And to this day, I hear that song. I always think about this film. And they end up getting some money to get other songs in the movie eventually through Harvey Keitel raising money for the film. But originally, that was the only song that was going to be in the movie. And but it worked out. There's no orchestral score in this movie. It's all soundtrack music.
Quentin said that he wanted to pick that song because it made you feel upbeat about something bad that was about to happen that you didn't want to watch, but the beat's so catchy and it kind of makes you, bob up and down. And then, but he's really doing this horrible act.
He talks
to this
into the ear. Shh, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's so terrible.
Yeah.
And then of course the big surprise in the film is when Tim Roth's character, Mr. Orange, wakes up suddenly and blows him away just before he's fixing to set the poor guy on fire.
Yep.
And then it all feels for naught because then everyone finally shows back up at the warehouse, Nice Guy Eddie and the other guys, and Nice Guy Eddie just pulls his gun out right away and just shoots the cop. Like, what, this cop? This cop you were trying to save? Because they're trying to figure out why Mr. Blonde is dead. So they go through all that, then the poor cop gets it anyway. You're just like, oh, geez.
Yep.
And this movie is ultra violent. I mean, at the time it came out, the MPAA almost didn't give it an R rating. They were really, Tarantino had to fight for the R rating and explain to him that, it's violent men doing violent things, but really, there's really only a couple of shots in the movie. It's when Mr. Blonde gets shot, and then the blood coming out of Tim Roth. Other than that, it's not an overly violent movie. It's a lot of language in it. There's like 270 F-bombs in the movie, I think.
Yeah.
And but Tarantino obviously ended up winning the fight and getting an R rating after all. And I think I read somewhere that he even compared it to movies in the late 80s like Die Hard, RoboCop, and Predator that were more violent than this.
Yeah.
And Tarantino had to show that to him. Say, hey, wait a minute.
There's a few directors that really make you feel the violence off screen, on the screen.
Tarantino's always good at that.
Tarantino's one, Brian De Palma, and Martin Scorsese. They really make you feel like,
De Palma.
Make you blink at the violence that's portrayed. They just film it. It's matter of fact. They don't try to make it stylized or anything.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic that way. I think that's the way it should be. Even though, and sometimes Tarantino gets a little bit glorified with it, like Django Unchained. There's some stuff in that's like him having fun. It's like, come on, Tarantino. Okay, we know.
There's only two Tarantino movies I haven't seen. It's Django Unchained and Inglourious Bastards.
Really? See, Inglourious Bastards might be my second favorite behind this, behind Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And another, everyone knows by now over the years, that Mr. Blonde's character is Vic Vega.
Yes.
Which is supposed to be John Travolta's brother, and is confirmed by Tarantino. And they were going to make a prequel film called Double V Vega, and it never got made. Madsen and Travolta got too old.
Yeah.
And they were going to do a prequel about the Vega brothers, and that would have been really cool to happen. And there's also theories about the briefcase in this movie with the diamonds. It's the same. Some people say it's the same briefcase that's in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
With, and that carries the soul of Marcellus Wallace, which is what the diamonds are, and that's what they were stealing. But Tarantino never really confirmed that. He just confirmed that the characters and the universes are the same.
Yeah.
Because there's even an ad on the radio in this movie for the 1950s theme bar that Uma Thurman and John Travolta go to in Pulp Fiction. So the movie, so they're interconnected through small things like that. Not quite interconnected like a Marvel universe or something along those lines. So any favorite scenes in this movie for a first time viewer, man? I mean, this had to be, because like when I saw this movie, it was a gut check for me back in the day. And we've had a lot of heist movies, a lot of copycats, man, especially British. This movie wasn't a huge hit in America because Miramax didn't really promote it, because Harvey Weinstein wasn't really a fan of it. He didn't believe in Tarantino yet at that point until Pulp Fiction came out, so he didn't put a lot of money behind advertising. But in Britain, it was a huge hit. And guys like Guy Ritchie definitely copied Tarantino. You go watch Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. They're all because of this movie.
Yeah, the Cockney accent.
Yeah.
Cockney.
So for a first time viewer, man, what kind of gut check was this seeing the movie? It's 20.
Oops.
Oh man, beeping on the show. 29-year-old movie.
It's hard to pick. I really like the opening scene. I think it's hilarious. Just the whole thing. I mean, the talking about Like a Virgin, and then how it's about dicks, and then Harvey Keitel tying that into the address book that the ringleader, the boss is trying to read, and then he's like, hey, "You shoot this guy for me."
And that's my favorite line. If you shoot me in a dream, you better wake up and apologize.
Yeah, man, and it just leads to a lot of stuff, and I think that's probably the best part for me, because of just the comedy and
it's got a dark humor to it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Dark humor. Yeah,
which Tarantino's always does in his films. I mean, the watch story in Pulp Fiction, shoving the watch up his ass. There's always a dark humor to Tarantino's stuff. Even Inglourious Basterds, even though it deals with a serious subject of World War II, it's also told from a fantasy standpoint of killing Hitler and all that. So there's some humor to it too. But there's if you've seen Inglourious Basterds, I mean, just that's the only other table scene I remember. But that table scene is entirely different. This table scene is more to introduce the characters and humor. The table scene in Inglourious Basterds is full of intensity of every moment, because here's this guy who's so evil with this lady across the table that he's killed her whole family. He's telling her all this stuff, and she's got to sit there and take it because there's nothing she can do about it.
Yeah.
And Tarantino does a good job of building these scenes around dialogue that build this intensity. And even this in Reservoir Dogs, you're wondering why these guys are around this table, and you're wondering what's going to happen next, And at that point, if you've never seen the movie before, you have no idea that it's told nonlinear. You're thinking they're fixing to go do a job. Then all of a sudden it cuts to Keitel and Roth in the car with him bleeding, and you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
It throws you right into the action.
I had to watch the movie 2 times in a row, because I was like, I went to go use the bathroom, and then he's bleeding in the back seat. And I'm like, what the hell did I miss?
Yeah.
And so I go to start it over, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to jump around.
This is one of Tim Roth's first roles, and he didn't even want to read for the part because he didn't think he was going to get it, but he ended up getting the part anyway.
Yeah.
And, man, what has he done lately?
Tarantino showed up. Well, I mean, Incredible Hulk.
That's right. That's probably the last thing he did.
I think he's done more behind the camera work.
Yeah.
And he did Watch Me Lie, or...
Oh, yeah, that TV show. That's right.
He's like, when you do this with your eyebrow, it means you're lying about your
I think he
anus.
directed a movie about his personal experiences growing up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
With an abusive father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And his older sister trying to protect him, I think. I forgot the name of the movie. But Tim Roth, I think, directed that movie. It came out about probably 4 or 5 years now. For me, my personal favorite scene is pretty much the last scene where Tim Roth's character confesses,
to Mr. White.
Yeah, to Mr. White, and really that's a punctuation of the
the intensity of the film.
Yeah, basically it reminded the audience and that the characters inevitably everyone loses. Mm-hmm. Everyone loses.
Yeah.
Hence the name Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's all that effort, all that drama,
for nothing.
For nothing.
And Mr. Pink assumingly got away. Even though
actually Mr. Pink was the only one that got away from it.
And another interesting about Tim Roth, James Woods that Tarantino really wanted James Woods to play Mr. Orange.
Yeah.
And but Tim Woods' agent never told him. Or James Woods' agent never told him because he was like, did I say Tim Woods? But he was like, because his agent thought it was below James Woods' salary and he wouldn't be interested in independent film. And James Woods ran into Tarantino a few years later and found this out and he fired his agent. He's like, yeah, you didn't give me that part because you didn't tell me? So Woods fired his agent.
What part was he?
He wanted to play Mr. Orange. He wanted him to play the undercover cop.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. He was.
Wow.
It was Tarantino actually wrote the role for him.
Yeah.
And before he cast Tim Roth. So, yeah. So,
Wow.
It's interesting sometimes how a movie might have changed. Like
James Woods is already a prominent actor
at the time.
too.
Yeah. Like Will Smith almost playing Neo.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So interesting things sometimes.
Tom Selleck playing Indiana Jones.
But overall, this
Selleck.
is an amazing cast, and Quentin is going on to continually make movies with great casts. And Tarantino's always on point with casting, and Quentin's a guy that, man, it's strange. I still have not watched A Hateful Eight. It's the only Tarantino movie I haven't seen.
I have,
and I normally never not miss a Tarantino movie. I think he's one of our best directors.
And you know what? I'm glad I watched it because I still think about that movie.
Yeah.
And I don't want to overhype it for you at all. And for me, Hateful Eight is a 3-hour long movie, and it only takes place in 2 places.
Yeah.
In the woods for just the first 15 minutes of the movie, and the rest in the cabin.
Yeah.
You know, and they did a great. The dialogue is written so well.
Yeah.
I mean, the character interactions are so intense.
I need to watch it. I mean, it's even got one of my favorite actors, Kurt Russell. You know?
Kurt Russell was good in it, and you'll have a Samuel L. Jackson was true to form in this one too.
And it relates to this movie.
You ever seen it, Matt?
Yeah.
Hateful Eight?
Because Tarantino had wanted
Bounty Hunters.
Yeah.
You know, because Tarantino had been trying to make, Reservoir Dogs essentially only takes place in 2 places: the office of Joe and the warehouse. You know, and the diner scene with Tim Roth, but mostly it's in 2 places. And Quentin had been trying to make another movie that took place in only a couple locations for years, and that's what the Hateful Eight ended up being. Because he liked that idea of doing another movie like that. And
he went full circle.
Yeah,
basically.
And I guess now he's making Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Sharon Tate story.
I'm not interested.
I guess it's a story that's centered around the Sharon Tate murders. Yeah,
Personally, I'm not interested in that subject.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's Tarantino. It's the one that I'll probably watch eventually, but I'm not going to probably rush out to theaters to see it. He said Quentin swears he's only doing 10 films and he's done. So I guess he's got one more after this. Now he's been talking a Dirty Dozen remake that I'd watch.
Yeah,
I'd watch Quentin do a Dirty Dozen remake. And it's not that I think it's a movie that needs to be remade because Dirty Dozen is good, but if Quentin did it, I'd probably watch it.
Yeah.
And I guess is he still tied to the rated R Star Trek, at least as a producer?
I don't know.
Yeah, he might be. So
who knows?
A rated R Star Trek with Quentin Tarantino. It'll be interesting. But I think he's a great director. I still was hoping for Kill Bill 3 with the little girl all grown up.
Yeah.
And she goes after the bride.
Now.
She goes after the bride. I always thought that was a cool idea. So
yeah.
But Tarantino seems to be like one of those directors that has a lot of good ideas, but we may never see them all get made.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But any final thoughts on Reservoir Dogs?
Really good film. I'm glad you picked it because I got introduced to it, and it's definitely one of my favorite heist films now.
It is. It's probably I probably watch it at least once a year. So this was my once a year viewing early. I really do probably watch this about once a year. I like it a lot, and there's not a whole lot of movies outside of the Star Wars films. Sometimes I watch more than once a year. Well, that and the Indiana Jones films, but every now and then I'll pull Reservoir Dogs and rewatch it because I really like the movie a lot too. Final thoughts for you, Long?
It's for me, it's one of those movies that are, if you want a good movie where it's just drama, really, hardly any action at all, and if you're a fan of great writing and great acting and great direction, I highly, it's one of my top 10 movies for that.
Yeah.
And number 1 for me is Hateful Eight.
and if you've always been afraid to watch a Quentin Tarantino movie,
Death Proof.
I think this Death Proof.
No,
I think this is I do think this might be the most accessible to start out to introduce someone to Tarantino. I would say Reservoir Dogs. Because Pulp Fiction's a lot going on sometimes,
Yeah.
So yeah, and Pulp Fiction's got a 25th anniversary coming up later this year. I'm sure we'll be talking it for show.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
All right, well, let's get to some news. There is quite a bit, actually. I wrote down a lot of stuff.
Let me do the Transformers one, if you don't mind. I want to do that part.
Okay.
I've invested a lot of Transformers, so I at least need to do that.
Well, okay. I mean, I got a couple. Want to do a couple small ones first? I mean,
go ahead.
They announced a release date for this Dune movie, November 2020.
Okay.
Seems awfully close, but man, I don't know, not really, because I mean, from all this casting they've got going, Josh Brolin's going to be in it now. Jason Momoa is circling a role.
I think he landed it.
Did he? It's covering. I mean, if they start shooting in the next few weeks, I don't see why it can't meet a November release date. You know, nowadays, man, they shoot something, they send it right to the special effects teams right away. They're working constantly. You know, this just seems like it's. I have no ball, so to speak, in the Dune ballpark. I don't really know much about it, so but this cast is incredible, and I trust in Denis Villeneuve. How do you say his last name? Villeneuve. I mean, Blade Runner 2049 was good enough for me that, you know, this might be one of those directors that I start watching anything he makes, you know, because it's so far so good.
Could be.
Have y'all seen The Arrival?
Part of it. I never did finish it. Yeah, it started out good. I just put it on kind of late, and I was kind of tired, so I never went back and finished it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems like a good director to do Dune in 2020. Batman is going to face off the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man.
I saw that.
They're going to do an animated direct-to-DVD movie based on the IDW comic series. You know, this seems like a match made in heaven kind of thing, man.
Yeah.
Batman and Ninja Turtles.
It is.
I'm down for it, man.
Both are trained ninjas.
Hell yeah, you know, and they have the Shredder and Joker working together. It could be, I don't know what the comic book was about, but I can imagine some pretty funny stuff with this.
Yeah.
You know, and anytime I get Batman news, I'm cool with it because, I mean, it's my favorite superhero.
I bet it's going to be the most successful DC animated.
I think so.
Yeah, and I guess it's plans to be out later this year. Is the plan, it looks like?
Pretty soon.
Yeah. Episode 9 wrapped production officially yesterday.
Yeah, I saw you showed
J.J.
that.
Abrams announced it. Now it's off to special effects and hopefully a title and trailer soon.
Yes.
And then The Mandalorian also wrapped already its first season.
Right.
But apparently some of the people that worked on The Mandalorian tweeted out and stuff, and Lucasfilm asked them to pull all their tweets really quickly.
Yeah.
So maybe they weren't ready to announce it yet, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Even though Taika Waititi he's talked about it some in some interviews, saying that he was like his style is in there, but he said he had a lot of rules he had to follow, so it was a little bit different for him doing Star Wars compared to working for Marvel. You know, he was like, with Marvel, they were kind of like, go make your Thor movie, and with The Mandalorian, he was like, go make your show, but there's these certain rules he had to follow.
Yeah.
So he said it was a little different.
Yeah.
But definitely looking forward to this coming on Disney Plus, man. I think it's going to be really cool. You know, some more fucking Star Wars? Hell yeah.
More
Yeah.
Star Wars.
We got Transformers news, man.
Yes, sir. It's been the Toy Fair happened this weekend, and Hasbro has officially went on record to say that the Bumblebee movie is a clean reboot.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, so it will have no ties, story-wise, whatsoever to the Michael Bay movies.
And I'm good with that. I enjoyed Bumblebee.
Yes, Bumblebee was very good. And then second announcement is they announced a new toy that matches Ghostbusters with
I
Transformers.
saw something about that.
Yes, and it's the Ecto 1. It looks exactly like the Ecto 1 vehicle, and you could transform it into a Transformer.
That's neat.
Cool.
Yeah, and they did a really good job. That's it.
But there's bigger Transformer news.
Go ahead.
Coming to Netflix in 2020 also.
Oh yeah,
A prequel series for the original Generation 1 cartoon.
Yeah.
Only it's going to be anime style.
Cybertron?
yes.
It's called War for Cybertron, right? Yeah, that's what they're calling it.
Trilogy.
It's going to come to Netflix next year, and it's going to be animated by some of the same people who are doing Star Wars Resistance. So it's kind of that modern / anime mixed with American cartoons look, which I kind of like the look of Resistance.
2.5 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, this is really cool. You know, and you already know Peter Cullen's going to come back for Optimus Prime, I'm sure. But I think this is what people want. There's been a lot of Transformers cartoons over the years. Some have been pretty good, like Beast Wars, and Prime wasn't too bad. But
Cyberverse is really good, I think.
Yeah. I've watched some of Cyberverse with the kids, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I think people really want a Generation 1 cartoon. I mean, nostalgia's in right now. You know, we've gotten Voltron on Netflix and other stuff. She-Ra's on there right now. It just seems like Transformers is absolutely right for this idea.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
And Netflix and streaming platforms are the perfect place to bring back this old stuff and make it new again for new generations.
And how?
And how.
Yeah. Yeah. Last bit of news I got. Hulu announced a big deal with Marvel, bringing some animated shows to it. Kevin Smith is involved in this. He's going to be helping write a Howard the Duck animated series for Hulu.
Yeah.
And I guess these are coming on as early as later this year.
Right?
The Offenders.
Yeah.
It's going to be Howard the Duck, MODOK, Tigra, and I can't read my freaking handwriting. Tiger and Dazzler, and Hitman Monkey. I'm not familiar with Hitman Monkey.
I'm not familiar with that either.
Tiger and Dazzler, sure, and the other ones, but and I guess they're going to accumulate in a special called The Offenders instead of The Defenders. And not necessarily something I expected coming from Marvel and Hulu, but apparently it's opened the door now that Hulu might be interested in reviving the other Marvel series. But the problem still lies in that those, Netflix signed 5-year deals with a lot of those shows, so the rights are still held by Netflix for a couple more years on Daredevil and all that, unless Hulu wants to spend the money to get them back. But I don't know. This could be interesting. Kevin Smith hasn't released his new episode of Fat Man Beyond yet, where I'm sure he's going to talk about this. And him writing Howard the Duck, I expect a lot of swearing. Because they say these are going to be adult-oriented cartoons. They're not necessarily going to be for kids.
Yeah, they showed topless ducks in the Howard the Duck movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
God, that's such a bad movie.
It's probably the funniest scene.
So
interspecies romance between Lee Thompson and... that makes me cringe thinking about it. Doesn't it?
I mean, Shatner did it all the time.
This is all James Gunn's fault, man. He just had to put Howard the Duck in the post-credit scenes for Guardians of the Galaxy.
I hope Seth Green plays Howard.
Now Howard the Duck has made a fucking comeback.
That's true.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, well, he did. Yeah, because there was an episode of that Hulk cartoon that was on where it was like the reality show Hulk cartoon.
Yeah.
And Howard Duck actually makes a cameo in one of the episodes. I remember watching it with the kids one day. I'm like, Howard Duck is on the Hulk cartoon.
Speaking of Marvel, I am not looking forward to the Eternals movie. No.
I didn't even know it was happening until I saw the other day that it might start filming later this year.
Yeah. I looked at the roster of the Eternals to see if I recognize anybody in that team. And no, I don't. Vaguely, Alpha Fox who is Thanos' brother.
Right.
That's about it. But I think what they'll do is they're going to... the movie version is going to be Adam Warlock, Moondragon, and the original Infinity Watch.
Right.
But I have zero interest personally on the Eternals.
I guess we'll see how it all comes together.
That's what I said about Guardians and Ant-Man.
Yeah. And speaking of Marvel, I guess there's a backlash against Captain Marvel all of a sudden now, saying I guess Brie Larson is doing interviews and she's selling it as like a feminist movie, and people aren't happy about that. Apparently, I didn't know this till today, and apparently it's it was screening for a possible $125 to $150 million opening, and now it's dropped down to like $90 to $100 million opening, and Marvel's kind of freaking out, like, wait a minute, and they've kind of told Brie Larson to kind of shut up a little bit, and of the way she's selling the movie to people, and people aren't real happy about that because they're trying to encourage families to go see this, and they want little girls to go see it, and not like older women. It's not a feminist movie, and I don't know. I don't really watch press junkets and interviews and stuff, but I guess Marvel's not happy with the way she's selling the movie. So I'm
kind of looking forward to it, but cautious about it. Brie Larson wasn't my first choice.
I expect a typical origin story. I don't think it's going to break any ground.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how Ronan the Accuser plays a role in this.
Yeah,
and because in the comics he actually became a good guy.
Yeah,
Ronan the Just or something like that.
Yeah,
and then Ronan the Just. I'm interested in seeing if there's any Guardians of the Galaxy callbacks a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really looking forward to see how it all fits into Endgame.
Right.
So.
Well, I also don't expect anything but the post-credit scene to maybe even tie into Endgame. I think the rest of the movie is going to play it safe. I don't think Marvel's going to blow their wad, so to speak, on March 8th when they know people are going to fill the theaters on April 27th. Yeah. So we'll see. But
it's just really it's always the vocal minority.
Right.
That's always the
I'm sure the movie will still do fine.
Yeah.
It's Marvel. They haven't really had anything unsuccessful yet. So
it's always easier to be pissed off and go on Twitter or social media and voice your thoughts. But when you're happy and and contend. You don't usually go on or rant or anything like that.
No. So that's it. That's all the news I had.
Yeah.
That's it. So let's talk next week's movie. We kind of picked this on the fly here right before we recorded today, but I'm down with it. We're going to go a completely different direction than a ultra-violent, full of bad language movie to a kind of funny, not kind of funny, it is a funny movie. I remember kind of a goofy spoof movie. We're going to talk The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad.
Yes.
In this city, there's crime on every street. But one man has seen enough. He's Lieutenant Frank Drebin.
Whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat.
He's a good cop who's having a bad day. His best friend...
Everyone should have a friend like you.
...is in a coma.
As soon as Nordberg is better, he's welcome back at Police Squad. But I wouldn't wait until the last minute to fill out those organ donor cards.
His girlfriend asked him to look her up.
Nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that.
And his city is in the hands of a master criminal with a sinister plan.
I must kill the queen.
How can any police story contain this much action? This much romance?
I like cops.
Or this much baseball? Starring Leslie Nielsen, a cop who's always on the alert. Mikhail Gorbachev.
I knew it.
Queen Elizabeth, everyone's favorite queen. Priscilla Presley, a woman who really cooks.
How hot and wet do you like it?
Ricardo Montalban.
Frank.
You're both right.
George Kennedy, the partner with an appetite for danger. O.J. Simpson, as you've never seen him before. And Reggie Jackson in his first dramatic role. In a movie so big, it had to be filmed in color. The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad.
Coming this Christmas to a theater near you. See you there.
Lieutenant Drebin.
Starring the great Leslie Nielsen. He's passed on, hasn't he? Yes.
Yeah, he's already.
I thought so. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I watched this. I remember in the 80s, always seeing Leslie Nielsen and things and always thinking he was a funny guy. What was it? The airplane spoof movies he was in were really funny. I always remember his line, "Don't call me Shirley," and all that.
Yeah.
And
O.J. Simpson's in it.
Yeah, O.J. Simpson's
Pre-murder.
in it. Oh, wow. Ricardo Montalban's in it. I remember that. So it's got some cool people.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fun movie to talk about, man. Any quick preview thoughts from you guys on it?
For me, it's my,
I don't even remember,
it's my first exposure to adult humor.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
So it's an oldie but a goodie, they would say.
Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing if it still holds up to you guys. For me, it's always going to be my favorite comedy, no matter what mood I'm in.
Didn't he dress up as a nun in one of them?
That was Spy Hard, I think.
Yeah, it was like Spy Hard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My dad loved him, but it's like I never really sat down and watched him with him.
Well, the Naked Gun movies were pretty funny, but then they were so successful that they caused Leslie Nielsen to take on roles like Spy Hard and what was the Dracula one he did that were just really bad.
That one was directed by
Mel Brooks, wasn't it? Yeah, but they weren't very good though. It's just like he started doing stuff for paychecks.
It's only one funny scene the whole movie.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to talk about something fun and a little more lighthearted after a very serious movie. We've done 2 or 3 movies with going 60 Seconds wasn't too serious, but Clerks is like a lot of language and cussing and. And this movie was definitely a lot of language and cussing. So a little bit something, a family-friendly film on the Rebel Radio podcast. Yeah. So that'll be on next week's show. But until then, go to the rebelradiopodcast.com so you can follow us on all the different apps. Follow us on Twitter at Rebel Radio Pod and on Facebook and Instagram and all that good stuff. And because we appreciate it. And that's how you know what's going on.
Please leave a review
Yes.
so we can read it on the air.
Go to iTunes, leave us a quick 5-star review. It literally takes you 2 minutes. If you're sitting in your car in the traffic or whatever, man, you just go to iTunes on the podcast app there and leave us a quick review. Even if you don't use that, if you use Stitcher or Google Play, you can leave reviews on any of those, and it helps. I guess you can leave. I don't use Google Play, but I'm assuming
not Google
you can lose review. I'm assuming you can use review.
Maybe.
Leave reviews there. Well, I know you can on Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify, you can at least drop stars on there. I know that. So
Yeah.
if you like
Drop us some stars.
drop us some stars. But until next time, it's been real. It's been really real.
Really
this has
real.
been Mark.
This is Matt.
This is evil. No. This is evil, Dr. Tran.
Who's not really
Signing
evil,
out.
but he can pretend he's evil.
I'm not paying for that server fee. No, I'm joking. That's evil.
Until next time, just go there and do it.
This is Chuck Huber. You're listening to the Rebel Radio Podcast. Stop being so awesome.
Hey, this is Marky Ramone, and you're listening to the Rebel Radio Podcast.